So this is a story about Brooke Coughlin, who started a cleaning company while in college.
My friends and teammates would make fun of me and say, Brooke, why are you cleaning other people's toilets and kitchens when you could be spending your time doing much more valuable things?
Then graduated and was a 7th grade teacher, quickly became an agent, and was able to go full-time into real estate in 2 years.
I've sold over $100 million worth of real estate, which is crazy, in just under 4 years. I closed deals where I make more than I was making as a teacher in an entire year in one deal.
Today, now she closes over 60 homes a year, does $30 million a year in transactions, and she's breaking down exactly how she has scaled her businesses and her real estate business so that you can do it too. Well, Brooke, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Josh, for having me. I'm super excited to be here and be connected across the country. You're in California, right? And I'm in Mass, so I
I
don't think we
know.
could get further apart.
And that's the power of social media, because I don't know, it looks like my stuff's working because your team found me. And for the audience who doesn't know you yet, can you give me the quick 30-second story on who is Brooke Coughlin?
Of course. Hi, everybody. I'm honored to be here today. My name is Brooke Coughlin. I am a top realtor in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. I am a retired teacher. I was a 7th grade teacher for 4 years, and I decided to make the jump out of a W-2 job and going straight into the entrepreneurial world. And ever since then, I've become a top 1% agent. I've sold over $100 million worth of real estate, which is crazy, in just under 4 years. I own a multi-million dollar real estate portfolio of short-term, long-term Airbnb rentals. I own an Airbnb management company, and right now I still also own a 6-figure cleaning company for residential and commercial. And on top of that, I'm 8.5 months pregnant. And the latest thing that I'm working on, I'm a new published author of She Closes Deals, which is building a community to help other agents across the nation help 10x their business. And it talks about how I went from being a brand new agent to being a multi-million dollar agent within 4 years. Super excited to share that with the world. She closes deals.
All
That's
right,
my
so
story.
that's okay. There's a lot of different ways that I want to go here because teaching is one of the toughest jobs to do, and yet is the most underpaid jobs to get. And so, how did you go from being a teacher to this real estate mogul?
Oh my gosh. Ever since I was a little girl, wanted to be a teacher, which is just crazy. I come from a family of educators. My dad's a principal, mom's a teacher. And I was like, I'm just going to follow in their footsteps. Maybe I'll be a principal one day. I loved the idea of being out of work at 2:30. I thought that'd be fantastic when I raise a family, having the holidays and vacations and summers off. And that was just my dream until I started a cleaning company when I was in college. And I was like, oh, this is the entrepreneurial world, being in charge of my own destiny, whole 9 yards. So it gave me that little bug that there could be more than a W-2 job out there. And it got my juices flowing.
Okay, so the first step in was the cleaning company. So how
The
did you
cleaning
build that? So while you were still a teacher, I'm assuming that you did that on this as a side hustle.
Yeah, I actually started my cleaning company when I was in college, and it was just to make a little bit of going out money here and there. I'd go clean people's houses, and I learned how flexible it is. You make your own schedule, you are your own boss, whole 9 yards. And I was doing this when I was playing college basketball, going to school to be a teacher. And I remember when I was just about to graduate and become a teacher and make my $50,000 a year Massachusetts salary for teachers, I was like, how am I gonna stop my little cleaning business that I've made in order to just go become a teacher? So right before I graduated, I decided to hire my first employee, which went horribly wrong back in the
Okay.
day. But fast forward to today, I have 13 employees. We clean wedding venues, we clean breweries, we clean offices, we clean people's houses. It's just expanded exponentially from just it being a one-man team when I was 18 years old.
I love it. I love it. The educator turned entrepreneur. That is something I also identify with. I worked at the University of Hawaii for 7 years, also teaching, making less than 50K.
What did you teach?
It was a student development theories class.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did
so I
you
was a
like it? Did you enjoy that age group?
college undergraduate students. Yeah, I was, I don't know, maybe not that much older than them with a
Right.
master's degree, at one point trying to get a PhD. But I quickly realized that I actually, as soon as my son was born, and he was born in Hawaii, I said, we can't, both my wife and I are both working at the university. And I said, this is not going to work. This is not enough money to live.
Isn't that
So
so sad though? Because the world needs, whether you're teaching college students or whether you're teaching junior high, like I was teaching, the world needs good teachers, but it's
mhm.
hard to live off of that salary. And something that always drove me a little bit crazy about the educational world was I could be the best teacher in the world or the worst teacher in the world, and I still know that I'm making X every single year.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the core things that I talk about on the podcast, and most business podcasts will say this, is the more valuable of a problem that you're solving, the higher that you should be compensated. And if family is the most important, you would think that, especially on the public sector, that you would at least be compensated pretty well if family is so important, but it just doesn't happen.
And the amount of, I come from the teacher world, so I still have teachers surrounding me on a regular basis. And the majority of them that I know work at least two other jobs or another job on the side, whether that be after school, whether that be during the summer or vacations. I'm like, this is supposed to be your full-time gig.
Yeah, it's the multi-job economy, and I think that's just a part of it until one of them kicks off. And obviously, you have a few other jobs now after teaching. Okay, so I want to talk about this cleaning company because I've been into watching Cody Sanchez's boring business videos, and she's bought a few cleaning companies. I don't know if you've seen any of those videos.
I have not, but cleaning.
Add it to your list.
Okay, I will add it to my to-do list. But cleaning companies are extremely lucrative. I remember back in college when I started this, my friends and teammates would make fun of me and say, Brooke, why are you cleaning other people's toilets and kitchens when you could be spending time doing much more valuable things? And I was like, it's the art of owning a business, being in charge of something that really got to me. But now, today in 2024, I don't clean anymore. I have a team of employees who work underneath me. I just work on like the scheduling aspect and keeping clients happy. But it all goes back to having a fantastic team, because if they're not doing their jobs correctly, I don't have the clientele, I don't have the money coming in. So it's having a great team, keeping that team happy, and it just makes the world go around and it makes the business a better business.
I love it. Okay, so I really want to get hyper tactical in each of the different areas of your business. So
Okay.
for this one, you scaled it from 1 employee to 13 employees. And I'm assuming that you have reoccurring commercial contracts and there's still residential jobs that you're doing as well.
Yes.
What's the one thing that you did that actually helped you scale?
I think it would go back to hiring the right people,
Okay.
because they're the ones going out every single day. They're the ones showing up. They're the ones doing the job. And having people that you can rely on makes a massive difference. And I've learned no matter what industry it's in, if you take care of your people, they'll take good care of you. So I treat my employees like gold. They make a very good salary for Massachusetts. I'm sure it's a little different than California, but for not being necessarily college educated, they're able to make their own flexible schedules, whole 9 yards. And sitting here today in August, I've actually signed that I'm going to be selling my cleaning company in the next few weeks. And that came from a point of, I was like, Brooke, you've been growing this business for 10 plus years, give or take. I'm 28. I started when I was 18. I brought it to a point where it's a money making machine. It's fantastic. It's on autopilot, but I did get offered a great package that I just couldn't say no to. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take these 10 years. I'm going to agree to this buyout and then take my money and time and be able to invest that into something else.
Okay, that is another thread I'm adding on my notes here of
Okay.
what I want to ask you about. But
Mhm.
first, so yes, staffing's super important. But in terms of obviously getting enough business to then be able to afford that staff,
Yeah.
what sales process, at least on like cleaning side, worked for you to get leads?
I would say the biggest one, honestly, was word of mouth. The cleaning company is my smallest venture that I currently have, and I do not do the amount of advertising that I should. But when you take good care of a few clients that you have, they also have massive networks who then they refer you to. And I was just placed in the right spot at the right time, and it opened up so many different doors without even having to advertise. If you ask me this question on the real estate side of things, I will have 20 million answers. But cleaning, just it's all fallen into my lap. I haven't done massive things to expand because it's just at a point right now where like the business runs itself. I'm making a decent amount of money. Wasn't really looking to expand
Mhm.
because my ladies are tapped out. I could hire more employees and take on more business, but at this point of my career, I'm like, cleaning company is going strong as it currently is.
Okay. You're in the process of selling. Knock on wood, everything goes well. Obviously, I've name dropped Cody Sanchez. Aside from that, Alex Hermosi is obviously another one of let's exit these service-based companies and,
Yeah.
grow it, scale it, exit it, and
Right.
then play with the cash. How did the
Right.
buyer for this business find you?
It's actually somebody that I know, believe it or not. So I was trying to sell this off market because some things are more private than others. I built such a great team. I didn't want to publicize it for the world that this was for sale. So I've had a few meetings here and there with people. And in the business of working for other people, everybody has like different values of what they think that business is worth. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, if I'm making X a year in my cleaning company from really not doing much other than managing it, I need to see a decent amount of return in order to sell this. And I've sat down with a few people and they weren't hitting my what I was necessarily looking for. And this one person who I actually know quite well, he sat down with me and he was able to offer all of the terms that I was looking for, and it helps him and it's going to also help me. So it's a win-win-win all around.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Is this a seller finance deal, by the way?
It is not, but it is a payout over 12 months. So I'm not necessarily going to make everything all up front. I'll be paid out
Yeah.
within 12 months. I'll be helping coordinate the transfer
Yeah.
because remember, my employees have known me now for 10 years and changing gears and giving it to somebody else. Holy moly, they work great for me. I can't promise they're going to work great for Joe Schmo. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's like building that relationship and making sure that everything goes smoothly to get them to the next level.
100%. Okay. So you built this cleaning company while you were still a teacher. What was business number two then, or at least in terms of this story?
Yeah. So my cleaning company actually led me into real estate, which is
Okay.
just crazy. And I was at somebody's house. This was way before COVID. After COVID, I no longer go to people's houses for quotes. We do everything over the phone, which is awesome. But before COVID, I used to go to people's house and quote them for what it would cost for cleaning. And I was in Massachusetts going to give a house cleaning quote. And little did I know the people whose house I was going to owned a real estate brokerage. I had no
Hmm.
idea. And I was just walking in their house telling them everything my team would do, what we offer. And they're like, Brooke, do you have any interest in real estate? And I'm like, I like HGTV. I like looking at realtor.com on houses I can't afford, going to get a coffee and driving around neighborhoods looking at houses, but I've never thought of myself of being a realtor. And they said, doing what you're doing right now with the personality that you have, I think you'd be an amazing real estate agent. Take this course, pass this test, join our team, and we'll see if you like it. And I did just that, and the rest was history.
Okay. So you went cleaner to agent. Someone connected you in there. What did
Yeah.
that first year of being an agent look like?
Oh, it was tough. It was tough because I was also a teacher. I also had my cleaning company and I was just trying to do it part time. But
Hmm.
I fell in love with the business of people and being in charge of my own destiny. So my first year, I actually have everything written down here. My first year was in 2020. It ended up being COVID year. I sold 8 houses, which equated to $2.2 million worth of real estate. And I was so excited. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
fun. I like it. I could scale this having the business mindset that I have. And in my neck of the woods, the average realtor will sell between 8 and 10 houses a year. And I
Okay.
was doing that year one. And I'm like, this is easy. If you already have the network itself, I was like, I can scale this. So my first year in real estate, I sold 8 houses, $2.2 million worth of real estate. Fast forward, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions here, but fast forward to last year, I sold 64 houses, which equated to $33 million worth of real estate
Wow.
in a 4 year time span.
Okay. Did you quit year two? Please tell me you quit year two.
I ended up quitting year two. Yes, I
Okay.
started the year off and I was like, this isn't fair to one, my seventh graders because I'm not giving them my full attention.
Okay.
And two, this is not fair to my clients because I'm technically like unavailable from 7:30 to 2. Sure, I text on the side, but I'm not fully there. That's not fair. They're selling or buying their biggest asset. I have to make a decision. And I remember I told my principal, it was probably like October, early October, and I went to him and I said, I'm making a really hard decision, but after Christmas break, holiday break, I will not be coming back. Yeah. And I remember freaking out, Josh, because I'm like, I'm making $1,400, my favorite part ever, $1,400 every 2 weeks, which takes care of my mortgage, my car payment, my groceries, my gas. How am I going to give this up to take a leap of faith into commission world? And now I close deals where I make more than I was making as a teacher in an entire year in one deal. But if I didn't take that leap, I wouldn't be where I am today.
For sure. For sure. Clearly, if you can hit the average on year one, then sky's the limit easily.
Yeah,
So
and it
then what did you
becomes
do that was different? Because
what
again, you beat the average, clearly. So
I
how did
would
you get more
say
listings?
I would say no matter like what aspect of the business that I'm in. I have such an addictive personality, which is really good that I turn it to business. But I have such an addicting personality that whatever I do, I set my mind to being the absolute best in that.
Yeah.
A lot of it, just like cleaning, was word of mouth, already having a massive network. But I worked
Mhm.
really hard to build my social media presence on different platforms. And I'm sure just like you probably see Facebook as a different audience versus Instagram as a different audience. At the end of the day, they are all potential clients looking to buy and sell.
For sure. So was there a specific, I don't know, posting strategy or maybe outreach strategy that you did on social media that allowed you to have more consultations than others?
I would say putting everything and anything out on social media repetitively. Sometimes I feel very cringy posting my face 20 times a day, but it leaves you top of mind with people. Joe Schmo to his second cousin knows that I'm a realtor. I'm going to help people buy and sell houses. So when that time comes, I'm going to be top of mind, which I think generates a ton of business.
So you post everything, but do you have a favorite concept to post, like a favorite thematic?
I would think it depends. I like to highlight all of my clients themselves in their journeys, which I think
Mhm.
people like. And then I also like to highlight like my listings, so everybody and anybody knows that my listings when they hit the market, just due to my social media network. But
Okay.
something else that has helped me grow tremendously is sharing what I do as an agent to help other agents.
Okay. What do
So
you mean?
I teach other agents my strategies on how I went from being a realtor just starting in this field to being a top realtor across 3 different states. And I think that exposure also helps me get more buyers and more sellers and more agents following in the she closes deals community itself.
Okay. No, that's fair. Obviously, the process, and if there's a differentiator in that process, ends up being the best type of posts because now people can actually see how you did it, not just what you did. And that's
Right.
why those HGTV shows that also tell the story of the transformation do so well versus just before and after.
Of course, and I like to let people know, like, if Brooke Coughlin can do it, just a small town little girl, like, so can you. And people say to me all the time, Brooke, why did you write a book and give away all of your secrets? And I'm like, I can share my secrets, my stories, everything, and that's gonna sure help another agent in their business, but they're not gonna do it the same way as me. It's like cooking, making a recipe. I can share a recipe with you, Josh, but it's not gonna come out the same, if
True.
that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Some people.
Well, thank God, because I don't cook.
Okay, so then I want to know, give me a story of a time where you were very competitive in trying to win over as the listing agent.
Okay. There are a few different ways I could take this. I'll take this a few ways by answering your
Okay.
question directly. Okay.
Okay.
So I remember first starting out when I first got my license, and this is a little embarrassing to start out, but I sat down at a listing appointment and the seller looked at me and said, Brooke, now why should I list with you? And this was
Mhm.
so early in my career, and I should have had this answer. You would think, of course, you need to know this answer when you're going to meet with sellers. I didn't have the answer. I stumbled over my words like, why should somebody list with me? I've never been asked that question. I wasn't prepared. I
Yeah.
didn't get that listing. Fast forward to today, I have my why me speech ingrained in my entire brain. But I also think that one door can open up so many other doors. For example, this is a really good story. I was working with one client, an investor client, who purchased, let's say, 5 properties within a year span, which my eyes light up. I'm like, this is amazing. This is fantastic. You're a great client to have. This client was going to be flipping all the properties. She probably went a little bit too fast. And instead of doing one, finishing one, selling it, whole 9 yards, she got in over her head. And there was one property, which was in a beach town in Massachusetts, where there was this one house that we had on the market. And we were coming up on a year being on the market. And where I am is wild. It's crazy. It's too
Okay.
long. Things fly off the market if priced correctly. And I have done everything and anything to sell this house. I've given offers to my client close to the listing price. The listing price was still a little bit high. She didn't take it. There was really nothing else that I could do to make this house sell. And my client reached out to me and said, Brooke, I want to have a conversation. And I was like, okay, my 1 year contract's coming up. The house still hasn't sold. I'm going to be fired. That was already going into the back of my head of what this conversation was going going to be. She calls me, it's over the phone, thank God, and she tells me that I'm fired. And I've never been fired before in my entire life with anything. And I take it personally because why couldn't I have sold this house? I also thought we were, friends as well as doing business together, but it's still business. And she fired me. 2 weeks later, and I'm down on myself. I'm like, Brooke, you're not a good agent, which I am. You take things in strides, and I was just fired. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. It's from a bank, her bank. And they call me and they say, Brooke, your client has been foreclosed upon on all of the properties that she just purchased with you. I'm like, I'm just the agent. I have absolutely nothing to do with this. And they said, no, we want you to resell all of these houses at face value where they're actually going to sell. So I lost that one client due to not being able to perform to the numbers that she wanted. And I gained a connection with a bank who handles all foreclosures. And I was able to resell all of those properties for a much lower price point. And then it also opened me up to selling the bank's foreclosures on a regular basis. So from that one no, from that one fire, that door closing, another door and multiple doors have opened from that.
I love that story. That there's some things that you just can't know what's on the other side.
No, you have no idea. You could have never have told me that was coming the day that I was fired. So you never know.
Yeah, we have a similar story with my business partners and I. When we get into real estate investing, we did long-term rentals, sight unseen in Ohio, did a couple Airbnbs. We were then trying to figure out this whole boutique hotel thing and making offers, getting rejected, losing. We got one accepted, but not ending up getting a commercial bank to actually believe in our glamping business model, and got that turned down. And a connection that we've been with for a couple years, all of a sudden we had coffee with him to tell him about how this deal fell through. And that same meeting, he goes, hey, I need help doing this and maybe also bringing some capital to the table. Can you do both of these? And that was our random foot into the door for a 111 unit apartment complex in Dallas. So
isn't that crazy? It's one thing just leading to another that maybe you wouldn't necessarily have had any connection with if the right doors didn't open.
Then you can't even get someone to even give you the shot.
You'd miss out on so many opportunities. All the power to you. Boutique hotels. How did you get into that?
My part, much like the Airbnb boom during COVID, we bought a couple, our friends bought a couple, and we were building a smaller own community on Clubhouse when Clubhouse was still a thing. And there's 4 of us friends who we talked to the most. And between all of us, I think we had about 40, 50 Airbnbs under management. We said, why don't we just do one in one roof? And that'd be easier.
So wait, you managed 40 to 50 Airbnbs?
No, that was between all the different business partnerships. And so there's 4 of us. I have 4 or 5 under management right now. And then some of the other ones have more. At this point now, I think the individual partners alone between their own management companies now probably have like 60 or 70 Airbnbs under management. But we just thought, let's just do one in one roof. It's easier. Obviously, that deal that we actually went into contract with didn't come out, but then we got into the multifamily space because of it. And now at least for me, we're switching a little bit into the assisted living space.
And there's so much money to be made in assisted living. I look at it, I want to hear your side of what you're doing with it, but I even look at it on the realtor side of things, because when people go into assisted living, they need to sell their house for top dollar. So part of my strategy has been this past year to go after assisted living places. Well, go after, that sounds horrible, but connect with assisted living places, because when these people go knock on their doors to come in, they're going to need funds in order to do that. And what do? They need to sell their house. Okay, here's our trusted agent's card. So I've done a handful every year, every month of assisted living deals.
Yeah. I know a wholesaler here locally. Their main deal flow to get wholesale deals is to go into these senior communities who are having these assisted living nights where you can now meet other operators in the area. Because eventually they have to sell their house and move into the home, or the family has to. And so they get all of their wholesale leads all through just going to all of these different senior living events across their area.
Oh, it's brilliant. And then the wholesalers say, oh, don't use an agent and we'll save you money. And it works.
Yeah.
What is your angle through assisted living? How do you tackle that?
From a marketing perspective, in the last 2 years, I have then been consulting with 4 other assisted living operators in the area, just help them with marketing.
Okay.
And so whether it be their personal branding, or at this point, I also run the marketing on the side for a CNA school in the area, and his family owns 10 care homes. And then there was a few other assisted living folks. And for me, it was just like, okay, I now actually understand the concept. concept. I now know what requirements are in place. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be the person who's going to help oversee the day-to-day of the patient life. That's not me.
Right.
But could we market the facility? Could we help raise funds for the facility? And so, yeah, the goal for me now is, could I get my hands into a few different partnerships, both on the smaller to mid-sized facilities? I don't want to do like big box 100+ beds. Like, it's
Yeah.
very impersonal,
You
but
like the
yeah.
boutique.
It's really big in the institutional space. So who am I to compete against BlackRock?
Right.
So I think there's a lot of room there on that mid-size play. Yes, money is great, but it's also just a huge need. The supply versus demand ratio is outrageous and only going to get worse. And it's a business that is a necessity, not like an Airbnb. Like
Right.
Airbnb, you are marketing to a luxury market if you're
Right.
going to win there. Assisted living, though, the disparity is so crazy. You are just filling a need. It's like, here's the grocery store.
My mind is blown. I never thought about doing real estate for assisted living.
Yeah.
So, what would you look for if you were going to go create an assisted living community? What would you look for?
Buy an existing one versus building one from the ground up.
Okay.
Much like you're selling your cleaning company, you can get one where you have all of licensing in place, assuming that everything is to code and works with the city or the county, wherever your local governing body is. But if you buy, say, someone who's had that facility for 20 years, 9 times out of 10, it's probably dirty, a little old, and needs to
Yes.
get refreshed.
And
Much
you
like
are
a
the
hotel.
fresher. Yeah.
You just, right? You put it in there, you make things nicer. And also, because of the needs, at least in the Bay Area and in California, they're actually increasing the capacity per bedrooms. And so you can potentially serve more people. Obviously, you do it to the best without minimizing quality of care, but the government wants it.
Yeah.
It's high needs and families need it. So I would go look at the existing ones versus going from scratch, because you have a lot of
Okay.
upfront costs, obviously, if you're going to completely renovate and build out something.
Wow, brilliant. See, that's a whole different angle that my brain has never thought of. So, thank you for that.
No problem. Okay, I want to finish off actually your story, Brooke.
Okay.
You started what's a listing story that you won
Yeah.
with I failed at the Brooke, why should I list with you? So
Yeah.
I want you to tell me now, Brooke, why should I list with you?
Okay, you should list with me for a multitude of reasons. You should list with me because I'm a top realtor in Worcester County, Windham County, Hampshire, Hampton County. I'm a top multi-million-dollar real estate agent. Last year, I sold over 65 houses, which equated to $33 million worth of real estate. The average agent sells between 8 and 10 houses a year, and I sell 65 plus. You are choosing to work with somebody who does this every single day, all day, who sees all outcomes. You're working with a shark, is how I like to say it. 24/7 open communication. I am crazy from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. You can contact me whenever, however that works. Top marketing exposure for your properties, whether that be through social media, through other marketing strategies. I even use newspaper, which is crazy because it depends upon who you're targeting and what the audience is. Like, I sell houses through social media all the time, but guess what? A lot of the population isn't even on social media, which is crazy. So doing it through newsletters and newspapers also helps hit a whole different clientele. There's that. I offer free professional house cleaning for every single house that I clean, part of my package, because I have the cleaning company. Free professional photography and videography that does not come out of my clients' pockets, which is awesome. Each quarter of the year, I do a community give back. So I am very community-based realtor. Quarter 1, I did for a local dog shelter. Every deal that I closed, I put $100 away towards that. Ended up with about $1,800 back to that shelter. Quarter 2, I fundraised for a local girl who had leukemia, and I was able to raise about $32,000 for her and her family, which was incredible outreach. Quarter 3, I'm giving back to the Boys and Girls Club, local Boys and Girls Club. And Quarter 4, I'm choosing to give back to veterans. So each quarter of the year, I give back, which sets me aside. I'm also a published author, and I teach other realtors how to sell houses. So the other realtors that you're interviewing, they're learning from me. So you should probably just work with the best, skip the rest, and I'll get you the most money for your house with the least amount of stress.
I love it. I love it.
It's important, and I learned over the years the importance of believing in yourself. And so I go into every single listing appointment, one, being able to tailor who I'm talking to. And I think that came from being a teacher, because every client is different, just like every student was different. So I read the room, but also just having confidence in what I do and being able to back up my statistics. So it's not just like here's a piece of paper, sure, I sell 65 houses a year. It's here's how I'm different.
For sure. The here's how I'm different is everything.
Yeah. And going off of that, after I finished my speech, right now in the real estate world across the entire country, we're going through this commission lawsuit. Are you familiar with that? Even being
Yes.
in California? Okay. And for as long as I've been in the business and as long as I've known, sellers have been responsible for paying for both sellers agents commissions and buyers agents commissions, which has been all that we've ever known. And then this whole lawsuit is changing things. But when I sit with my sellers, I do charge a premium. And after I go through the why me, I say, okay, I do charge 6%, which takes care of, this is previous, this takes care of myself and it takes care of buyer's agents. I keep 4% for myself and I pass out 2. That's just how I do my business. And I
Okay.
say to them, I'm not going to lie to you. You could call realtor.com Zillow tomorrow and get another agent to do it for 4, but you get what you pay for. And I'm going to give you the top-notch service and get you top dollar for your house.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people don't even hesitate and they say, yep, we're ready to sign 6%. Sometimes I might have people come back and be like, we'll do it for 5. And am I going to lose the deal for a 1% commission? Absolutely not. But you shoot for the stars. And then if they negotiate a little bit, sure.
That's just one big negotiation every single day. That's all it is.
It's all it is. Yep.
Okay, on that, what's been the most ridiculous ever negotiated?
Okay. The most ridiculous thing I've ever negotiated. This is maybe not something that you would think of in negotiations, but I right now currently am selling a farm. I'm selling, it's a farm that's been in our county for a very long time, and it was 90 acres of land. And this seller decided, he tried before to sell it as a package altogether, and he was trying to sell it for $2 million. And where I am, Josh, I'm not in California, so $2 million is a big price point for Massachusetts. He was not necessarily getting the bites he was looking for because that's a big price point and it's a farm, and who wants a farm in today's market? So I went in, I met with the seller, and I was like, okay, this is what I recommend. I recommend breaking up the farm. There are 2 farmhouses, there's an orchard, and then there's a buildable plot of land. I'm like, let's break everything up into 4 different parcels, sell them all individually for more reasonable price points so we'll have more buyers. Okay, so we sell one farmhouse for $715, another farmhouse for $450, a buildable plot of land for $100,000. You're probably like, holy moly, Massachusetts is so cheap. And then the orchard itself for $900K. Okay, I'm getting to your answer. And these sellers in particular were extremely stubborn and they had a lot of stuff and they were moving to a different state. And I said to them, we kept going back and forth, and I'm like, you know what, guys, just go. Whatever's left, I'm gonna take care of for you. I just want you to go so I can get the house ready, give it to me in my hands. And I said, but before I go, because they were living in one of the houses, if there is anything that you are going to miss, that you're going to want to take with you, please put it on the right side of your garage. So then you can go take this to South Carolina where you're moving. The rest of the stuff is going to be donated, taken care of on my expense so the house can be cleaned out, free, ready for pictures. Okay? Get my hints, not donated. It's
Yeah,
1-800 junk removal. And okay, the garage is full. They've moved everything. I sell the house. We get multiple offers on the table. We end up accepting $40,000 over asking price, which is incredible. I'm super happy, thinking that they should be super happy too. They come home after we're under agreement and they're like, where's my kitchen table? And I'm like, your kitchen table's not in the garage, so your kitchen table's gone. And they're like, we wanted that kitchen table. And they were so angry that their kitchen table was gone, but they didn't move it to the garage. Their kitchen table is probably like $500. And I was like, I'll get you a new kitchen table. I'll just get you a new kitchen table. Let's just move on, get this to the closing table. A few weeks ago, they sent me a link to this kitchen table that's a few $1,000s. And I'm like, your kitchen table wasn't worth more than $500. Why should I be responsible for paying for a few $1,000s worth of a kitchen table? Anyway, I just paid for the stupid kitchen table to make them happy, to have the transaction go through. But that is the craziest thing I've negotiated inside of my own deal just to get the job done.
And this table didn't have a sentimental value. It was just off of principle for them.
And then, like, you know what? 9 out of 10 of clients that I would work with, and I work with a ton of clients, would have just been like, Brooke, thank you so much for getting us $40,000 over asking price. We misplaced putting our table in the garage. It's fine. Versus, Brooke, I need you to buy a new kitchen table. But in this industry, we do whatever necessary to get the job done.
Yeah, yeah. Great job on just solving the problem, which is just what business is at the end of the day, and
Right.
just ending their close.
Of course. Very interesting.
Okay, let's pivot. Last subject I want to hit now is let's just talk about social media.
Okay.
What's been the most viral post for you of all time?
The most viral post. This is a great question.
And then actually, I'm gonna add a part 2 to this question. What
Okay.
post has then generated the most business for you? And they could be separate. I'm assuming they are separate.
I would say they could probably be the same. And I think this also can go into my She Closes Deals community. I have recently taken all of my knowledge, everything that I've learned, and I've put it into a book. It's called She Closes Deals. And I was working on this behind the scenes for about a year to bring together. Last week of July, that was not last week, I had a massive book launch event of She Closes Deals. And in there, I was able to break down what the community is all about, what the book is all about, my why behind it. And I think that was been my most viral post of sharing that Brooke Coughlin, yeah, sure, she's a top agent, but she's also willing to share all of her advice, all of her lessons. And that has taken me across the entire nation. I get friend requests from people at all different parts of the world. That's dramatic. All over different parts of the country, though. I just had somebody reach out to me from Tampa, which is incredible. And he said, I saw your post, your book is ordered. I'd love to learn from you. And I'm like, holy moly, my social media, little social media from Massachusetts is reaching agents across in Florida. And to me, that's just massive. And then one more to go back to your question. Do you follow 𝐵iggerPockets by chance?
I do.
Okay, so I had the opportunity to be on their podcast, and I was fangirling because before I even got into real estate, I would listen to 𝐵iggerPockets and be like, these people are crazy with all their real estate changing their lives, whatever. And I was able to get onto that podcast. And after the podcast, thank you, that I would say was the biggest outreach of being on there. The amount of followers that poured in from that podcast was absolutely insane. And the amount of messages of people like, I want to do just what you're doing. Somebody reached out to me, said, I'm a teacher and I'm starting a cleaning company just like you, and she was still in college. It was just incredible that social media, being able to share your story, can hit so many different people. Then my clients see that, Josh, and they're like, why wouldn't we want to work with Brooke? Because she has this massive outreach to literally everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Leads
Yeah.
to more money, more business.
It's always interesting when people don't at least prioritize whether it be their personal brand or their business brand. It makes no sense. And if you can get one strong press hit like 𝐵iggerPockets, that has a crazy ripple effect.
Yeah, it definitely can. And going off of brand, for the longest time, I would say I'm Brooke from Burns. And Burns is my brokerage itself. So I'm Brooke Coughlin from Burns Real Estate Group. And then it really hit me that I need my own personal brand, because I'm going to be Brooke Coughlin no matter if I'm with Burns Real Estate Group, my own brokerage, Joe Schmo, whatever. So I really have honed in on, I'm now Brooke Coughlin from She Closes Deals. And I can take that literally anywhere. And the importance of having that versus just working for somebody else has taken my business to new heights.
All right, so you wrote a book. Do I need to write a book too? What has writing a book done for you?
It's just allowed me to tell my story. And it also allowed me to jump into the failures, because so many people, I feel like, and you probably see it in your line of work too, are like, she got lucky or he got lucky, or if it's easy. And it's
Must be
not
nice.
easy. If it were easy, everybody would do it. And in like literally chapter 1 of my book, I talk about, I stopped counting how many times it took me to pass my real estate test.
Wow.
I'm not a test taker. Being a teacher, I could not pass this test to save my life. And I could have given up the 3rd try, the 10th try. But if I did, I would never be where I am today.
Love it.
You
Love
know?
it.
And just opening that up to the world. No, I am absolutely not perfect, but I just stick with it. And it has equated to millions and millions of dollars of success.
Totally. That makes sense. All right. Well, I'll add that to my to-do list. I'll move it higher for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Last question for you, Brooke. How can someone add value to you today? What are you looking for?
I am looking for, this is a great question. I'm learning the importance of leveraging. For the longest time, I've been the biggest control freak of everything in my life, especially business, thinking that I can wear all 20 hats. And recently, especially being 8.5 months pregnant, I've learned the importance of, and you know what? I'm really good at what I do, which is helping people buy and sell houses. But there are so many different aspects of the real estate field industry where I can have other people work for me. So I have an assistant who is like my boots on the ground running, allowing me to be in more places than once. I have a marketing girl who handles all of my marketing, social media aspects. But even social media, Josh, you know it because you do it every single day. There are so many different avenues you can then take social media off of. So I think people could add value by wanting to learn and soaking up the knowledge that I'm able to give them, them by providing a service in return.
So
If
you're
that
looking
makes
for
sense.
potential. There are ways that you can apprentice with Brooke. You just have to
Yeah.
figure out, do some digging first to figure out how you can add value first.
Helping grow, helping getting my name out there in more ways than one. Josh, you just opened my eyes in this one episode about assisted living. I literally wrote down assisted living and circled it when we were talking because my brain is so focused on what I do versus somebody like you or somebody who could potentially work for me has so many different ideas. We're limiting ourselves by not tapping into that.
Love it. Okay. And then, Brooke, if anyone wants to follow up and do said things, how can they find you?
Yes, you can find me. My biggest platform is on Instagram at Brooke Coughlin. You can also find my book and my story at www.𝐔�كlosesdeals.com.
I love it. Well, of course, I will leave that all linked in the description, in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this too. If you are, and wherever you are, please like it and subscribe or follow. And then most of all, share this with anyone who you know wants to leave their job, become a rock star agent, start a cleaning company, a service business. Brooke dropped tons of gems, and I'm sure they'd appreciate it too. But Brooke, I appreciate you jumping on the show with me today.
Thank you for having me, Josh. It was a blast.
All right, everyone. And I will see you guys all on the next one. Cheers.